And are you refreshed?
Yes.
Good. Now what? Further forward? Further forward? You are the one? Yes. Wait. Everyone sit down. Everyone sit down. Everyone sit down. Especially those walking this way. This finger is a lot of trouble. Sometimes we point over there and they come from over there.
Wow, I feel so honored now.
Oh, wait, you are the wrong one.
We're talking a lot about releasing resistance, and the meditations have been amazing. But I do it for 15 minutes every day, and then I have the rest of the day to contend with. And
then do it more.
I think I need to.
If it feels that way, do it as often as you want. Just don't get carried away with it.
Okay. I am interested in the world of apps. Speaking of Doodle Jump, as you mentioned the other day, and Sudoku and all these other things that people are doing are they a way of releasing resistant thoughts?
Often. You can tell by the way you feel. In other words, at first it's fun. When you start sweating, you're in resistance.
Okay. I have a hard time stopping sometime. That's pertinent to my question is, it feels so good to not think about other things that are making my mind race.
Then it is doing you a good service.
And then I get to a point of, I know I have to stop and think of other things. And then I get a little out of the vortex over it, and I'm confused what I'm doing to myself.
Well, what you're really wanting to do is just soften troubling thoughts, which is what a game of distraction does for you. And then from your neutral place, try to begin the construction of thoughts that feel better. So when you feel yourself beginning to feel some of that uneasiness, that's a time that you could talk it into a more general place. In other words, we'd like you to think in terms of the deconstruction and then the reconstruction of thought, that it's negatively specific, negatively really specific, negatively less specific, negatively less specific, negatively less specific, until it's generally negative. But in its general negativity, it's softer. And from general negativity, you can go to generally positive. But what people try to do, they try to go from specifically negative to specifically positive. It's too big of a jump. So you want to go less negative until you're generally negative. And from generally negative, you can go generally positive, and then just a little bit more, a little more specific and a little more specific, until you can train yourself on every subject that's bothering you. You can train every subject into an in the vortex place. Every single one, no exceptions. We're not kidding you, really.
Can you give us a little more specific on that process and what it feels like?
You give us one. You give us something that you're really specifically negative about. So negative that you have to lull yourself into boredom with an iPhone app. Life isn't worth living. I think I'll play Doodle Jump.
Money. I'll pick money. Bills being paid at work, meeting payroll, feeling resistant towards that, not wanting to think about it, not wanting to play into it,
not wanting to deal with it, not wanting to worry about it. Correct. But worrying about it.
Yes.
So not wanting to worry about it isn't getting you anywhere, because you're worrying about what you're not wanting to worry about.
Yes.
And the more you worry about not worrying about it, the more specific it gets. Until then you want distraction from it, but distraction from it, it keeps rearing its ugly head, so you keep worrying about it. So now you want to bring it into a more general place. So let's talk about it specifically first. What days do you worry the most? On the days things are due? Or in other words, are there times during the month that you feel better than others?
When the office manager calls me in and says, I don't know if I can pay you this week, or things such as that.
All right, so something rather specific has
Yes.
happened. So now, but now you're not there. You're true to your word. You're playing your game in order to try to distract yourself. And then a specific thought comes to you that's worrisome about money. Speak it briefly.
What if our business doesn't
You
survive?
See, that's exactly it. What if our business does not survive? How big, bad, and awful and specific can you get?
Yes.
That should take you to your knees. In other words, that's really a negative thought. And it's so far from who you really are and so far from what you want. Of course, that thought's going to feel awful. And right now, in that moment, it feels like it's a normal thought that's responding to a normal reality. But what we want you to hear from us is you're not having the emotional discomfort because there is a reality that's looming. You're having that emotional discomfort because you're specifically focused in opposition to everything that you are and to everything that you want. In other words, this is the thing that we most want you to hear. If you can start relating the emotions you're feeling not to an indicator of reality or a prognosis of the future, but instead it's just an indication of what you're doing vibrationally right here and now. So you feel that feeling, and your thought is, what if our business doesn't make it? And take it even further, what if we can't feed our children? And what if we have to let all of our wonderful employees go? And what if, you can really bring yourself to a terrible, terrible place pretty fast. But you're too smart for that now because you've had the distraction of Sudoku. You've had this distraction. In other words, you know that you're reaching for something general. And you know that the reason that it feels this uncomfortable is because you've been specific about it plenty of time. So now you're going to deconstruct it, which just means you're going to go general on it. So you try to be general. You say something like, I felt this way before and it hasn't come crashing down. In other words, it's more general. Or, things do have a way of working out for us. Or, we've been in worse situations than this and things have turned around. Or, now these are still pretty specific statements, but...
And like a focus wheel a little bit? Is it like how you start a focus wheel?
It's sort of like that. It's the same idea where you're going general enough, but we think the idea of deconstructing the thought, in other words, the idea is finding something that gives you relief. And a thought like, I don't have to think about this right now is a pretty good thought. That's a general, I can't do anything about it right now this red hot minute. It doesn't matter if I got all worried about it this red hot minute. There isn't anything, I can't snap my fingers and change anything. So I'm not going to bring myself, I'm going to go general on this. I'm going to generally accept that things are generally getting better. And we know, didn't feel very solution oriented, but you deconstructed thought a little bit with that. Now, usually about then, you see, if this was the first conversation that you'd ever had with yourself about this, then you might not be feeling much relief, and you might be feeling what maybe some people are feeling. Well, that was hardly any kind of an answer at all. But what we know about what you've put into your vortex is you just moved from really, really bright yellow into something that's a little more green. In other words, you moved into a place where law of attraction can get a little piece of you every now and again. In other words, and a thought could come to you of something that would give you some relief. Maybe not right then, or maybe it will. But the point is, as long as you feel negative, here's the rule of thumb. As long as you are worried, as long as you are frustrated, as long as you are angry, as long as you are worried, that's the operative word for you. As long as you are worried, 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 go general, go general, go general, go general. And in the moment you feel a little relief, go specific. Be a little more specific. Now think about this. What if you caught yourself in that moment and you tried to distract it by playing a game, but you found yourself worried. What about putting in your earbuds and putting the meditation one on, and don't do the one on finances. It might be too specific.
Okay.
Go to the general one and or go to the one that's mostly just music. Listen to it and feel your specific thought begin to dissipate and feel relief come to you. And then when you come out of meditation in that place of more relief, that's the turning point. That's the turning point where you could start getting specifically negative, or you could start getting specifically positive. In other words, the meditation will put you into a general place of no resistant attraction. So that's the optimum time for you to find a general thought of well-being. That's the whole point of that meditation. It's general. Do you see how general it is? Mm-hmm. It's talking generally about your well-being, but it's not talking weakly about your well-being. It's talking emphatically with knowledge from the source, of your soul, of your center. It's talking about your well-being. And if you listen to it often enough, you will activate within yourself a vibration of general well-being. Now, the thing that's interesting is that most of you, you're so goal-oriented and so process-oriented and so let's get my world wrestled to the ground and moving in the right way oriented, that almost as soon as you come out of that meditation where you are generally feeling better, where your resistance has dissipated, you often try to get specific about something you want, and even though you just came out of meditation, you tip negative rather than positive. Because you go too specific too fast. You see what we're getting at?
Yes, I do.
And that's why we're really trying to say to you, the meditation will do it. The meditation will do it. If you will process yourself, if you will allow yourself to relax into the meditation, and you will do it consistently, it will change your vibrational frequency to a general frequency on well-being on every subject that is important to you. And then you'll find yourself having a conversation, but noticing your specific negative commentary. You'll hear other people around you too. That's a little bit tricky because suddenly everybody's going to look a little too specifically negative to you, and you're going to kind of back off from that, or you're going to want to shake your finger at all of them, because almost everybody is very specifically oriented toward what they don't want, because you think that you are historians who are documenting every moment for future experience. In other words, captain's log. What I ate just now didn't taste as good as what I ate yesterday. In other words,
it's a matter of like you're trying to figure out what went wrong and have something to blame it on, rather than just a general sense of we're moving. What
went wrong and something to blame it on is all that justification and rationalization, and it all comes from a place of witnessing and currently believing that I'm not moving toward, or I'm not being who I should be. And it's always going to feel bad to you, you see. And so what we're attempting to do with this process and with the application of this meditation CD is to help you to understand that the very thing that almost everybody that you know is the way to improve their life is counterproductive in the beginning, because emphasis on a subject only emphasizes where you already are vibrationally. If you're worried about something and you think about it, you're going to become more worried. And so we really want you to see the vibrational frequencies from specific, less specific, general, negative and specific, less specific, negative and general, negative and positive, more specific, more specific, more specific. And so, of course, the optimum friskiness, the optimum passion is when you're really specific and really without resistance. That's when you're really, really feeling good. But the rest of the time, you want to manage yourself there. Sometimes you can run into somebody and you've been meditating, and you're generally positive on lots of subjects, and so you've got a lot of probability of hooking up with someone who's really positive, and so that person walks into your experience and floods specifics, and they just draw you right in, and there's a tendency to want somebody to do that for you, but you've got to do the readiness prep. In other words, you have to be vibrationally prepared for law of attraction to hook you up with all of that.
Yes.
Does that make sense to you?
It's fabulous. It's just what I needed.